Unforgivable. Bai Lu's mother tries to ban Zhang Linghe from the hospital room. The hospital corridors were drenched in silence, but it wasn't the peaceful kind. It was the kind of silence that comes just before a storm that would leave scars no medicine could heal. Ever since Bai Lu's terrifying car crash, the world had been watching with bated breath. Fans prayed, friends worried, and Zhang Linghe, he shattered. For days he stayed by her side, clinging to the fragile thread of hope that she would open her eyes and call his name. But what no one expected was the collision of love and family that was about to unfold, a confrontation so fiery it threatened to tear everything apart. The cold stare that froze the hallway. When Bai Lu's mother arrived, she carried more than grief. She carried suspicion, anger, and a mother's instinct sharpened into a blade. Her eyes landed on Zhang Linghe, who had barely left Bai Lu's side. His hands were still trembling from hours of pacing the hallways, his face pale from sleepless nights. Yet when their eyes met, hers didn't soften. They hardened. "Leave," she said, her voice steady but dripping with venom. Gasps rippled from nearby nurses. Zhang Linghe blinked in disbelief, thinking he had misheard. "Auntie, please. I can't leave her. Not now." But her words sliced through the hallway like glass shattering. "You are the reason she's here. My daughter wouldn't be fighting for her life if not for you. From this moment, you are not allowed in her room." The clash that no one saw coming. Zhang Linghe's chest tightened as though someone had stolen the very air he needed to breathe. The man who had endured public scrutiny, paparazzi storms, and brutal gossip without breaking was breaking now. No, his voice cracked, but he steadied it, desperation flooding every syllable. "I love her. I was with her in the ambulance. I held her hand when she—" "Enough." Bai Lu's mother snapped, her grief igniting into fury. "Love? Do you call this love? My daughter almost died. You should have protected her, not dragged her into chaos." The hallway was no longer silent. Nurses tried to calm the storm, doctors rushed past, fans outside the hospital gates screamed questions at passing staff, but inside, the fire between mother and lover was unstoppable. A scene that left the hospital shaking. Witnesses later described it as something ripped out of a movie. Zhang Linghe fell to his knees, his hands clasped together, tears streaming down his face. "Auntie," he pleaded, voice hoarse. "If you take away everything from me, take it. My career, my pride, my name. But don't take her. Please, don't take her away from me." The raw desperation in his voice shook even the strongest hearts in that corridor. Some nurses turned away, unable to watch. Others stood frozen, caught between pity for him and loyalty to Bai Lu's grieving mother. But Bai Lu's mother stood her ground, her own tears finally slipping free. "Do you know what it's like to raise a child, to pour your life into her, only to see her broken, unconscious on a hospital bed? You say you love her, but every time you appear, she ends up hurt. I cannot let that cycle continue." The whisper from the hospital room. Just when it felt like the storm had reached its peak, a faint sound cut through the chaos. A whisper. "Linghe." Everyone froze. The voice was weak, trembling, but unmistakable. "Bai Lu." She had stirred for the first time since the crash. Zhang Linghe's head snapped up, his eyes wide with disbelief. He turned toward the door, tears fresh and wild. Bai Lu's mother's hands shook as she realized her daughter had spoken his name, not hers. The doctors rushed into the room, ordering everyone back, but that whisper lingered in the air like fire to gasoline. It changed everything. The mother's dilemma. Bai Lu's mother staggered back, torn in half. On one side was her protective instinct, her desperate need to shield her daughter from harm, even if it meant cutting Zhang Linghe out completely. On the other side was the undeniable truth, her daughter's heart still beat for him. Zhang Linghe didn't waste the moment. He rose, determination burning brighter than his despair. "Auntie, you heard her. Even in her weakest state, she called for me. Doesn't that tell you something? Please, if you love her, let me love her too. Don't make me an enemy when all I want is to be her strength." Her lips quivered. The walls she had built around her heart were cracking. And everyone knew it. A scene fans will never forget. Outside the hospital, word of the confrontation had already spread. Fans lit candles, held banners, and sobbed openly at the thought of Zhang Linghe being torn from Bailu's side. Social media exploded. How can her mother ban the man who's been with her every second since the crash? This is beyond drama, this is real heartbreak. If she wakes up and doesn't see him, it will crush her. Inside, the emotional hurricane continued. Bailu's mother finally turned her gaze to Zhang Linghe, her shoulders trembling under the weight of her grief. "If you fail her again," she whispered, her voice breaking, "I will never forgive you." Zhang Linghe bowed deeply, his tears falling to the sterile hospital floor. "Then I will never fail her again." The promise in the shadows. As the night deepened, Zhang Linghe sat quietly at Bailu's bedside, her mother still standing guard, her eyes swollen but softer than before. For the first time since the crash, there was fragile peace in the room. He reached for Bailu's hand, gently, carefully, as if she were made of glass. Her fingers twitched against his, the smallest sign of life, and his heart leapt. "I'll stay," he whispered, not knowing if she could hear. "No matter how long it takes. No matter what it costs me. I'll stay." And though Bailu's mother said nothing, she didn't stop him. For now, that was enough. Unforgivable, the confrontation deepens. The hospital lights hummed softly above, casting sharp shadows on the white-tiled floor. Every second ticked louder than the last, yet the space between Bailu's mother and Zhang Linghe remained carved in stone, a battlefield where neither wanted to surrender. The shaking voice of a mother. Bailu's mother's hands trembled as she clutched the strap of her handbag. Her voice, however, cut sharper than a blade. "Do you think," she asked, each word slow, deliberate, "that I can watch my daughter nearly lose her life and then pretend everything is fine? Do you think a mother's heart bends so easily?" Her eyes glistened, pain brimming like water at the edge of an overflowing glass. Yet, behind the pain was fire, a refusal to let go of her authority as the woman who raised Bailu from cradle to star. Zhang Linghe bowed his head, his shoulders heavy with guilt. He wanted to explain, to argue, to fight back. But every time he opened his mouth, the image of Bailu unconscious in the car crash replayed in his mind, shutting him down. Zhang Linghe's breaking point. "I don't ask for forgiveness," Zhang Linghe said finally, voice raw. "I ask only for the chance to stand by her side. If you think I failed, then give me this moment to prove I won't fail again." He stepped closer, but her arm shot out like a barrier. Nurses nearby stiffened, afraid she might actually push him away. "You don't understand," she snapped. "You are her weakness. When she's with you, she loses focus. She lets her guard down. And now look at her." Her finger pointed toward the door of the hospital room, where Bailu's fragile figure lay hidden behind glass. The words hit Zhang Linghe like thunder. His chest tightened, his breath ragged, but he refused to move back. Witnesses of pain. The hallway was no longer a private battlefield. Doctors in white coats whispered at the edges, trying to appear invisible. Two younger nurses clutched each other's arms, eyes wide with sympathy. Even Bailu's assistant, standing by the wall, covered her mouth to stop her sobs. Every witness knew this wasn't just a personal fight. This was the kind of scene that would echo for years in the entertainment world, the clash of a mother's authority versus the unstoppable pull of love. And yet, only one person's voice truly mattered, Bailu's. The silent patient. Through the small glass panel of the hospital room, Zhang Linghe caught a glimpse of her pale face. Machines beeped softly around her, tubes and wires tying her fragile body to life. His knees threatened to buckle at the sight, but he clenched his fists until his knuckles burned. "She needs me," he whispered, almost to himself. "She always told me I was her calm, her anchor. Please don't take that away from her now." Her mother's lips tightened, torn between anger and hesitation. Flashback of love. The words triggered something inside him, a memory so vivid it stole the air from the room. He remembered a night on set, months before the accident, when Bailu had fallen asleep on his shoulder between takes. She had murmured in her half-dream, "Don't leave, Linghe. You're my safe place." That memory returned now, stabbing him with both hope and agony. He lifted his eyes to Bailu's mother. "You may see me as her weakness, But I swear, she sees me as her strength. You can take away everything else, but not that. The mother's outburst. Strength? Bailu's mother's voice broke into a sobbing laugh, sharp and bitter. Do you know what strength is? Strength is watching her collapse after endless filming hours. Strength is being the one she called when the world abandoned her. Where were you then, Linghe? You were chasing your roles, your fame, your fans. Her chest heaved as the words burst free. Tears streaked down her cheeks, and for the first time, the entire hallway felt her heartbreak, not just her anger. Zhang Linghe flinched, shame coloring his face. But he didn't retreat. Instead, he stepped closer, his eyes burning. A kneeling plea. In a moment that would later become unforgettable to everyone who witnessed it, Zhang Linghe sank to his knees. The sterile floor was cold beneath him, but he didn't care. His voice cracked, but his conviction held steady. I was blind before, but not anymore. Auntie, if you want me to kneel for a day, a week, my whole life, I'll do it. Just let me stay by her side. Just let me be there when she wakes up. Gasps filled the hallway. Nurses tried to hold back tears. Even Bailu's assistant buried her face in her hands. Her mother, however, froze, her heart waging war against her rage. The moment of weakness. For a flicker of a second, Bailu's mother's hand trembled, reaching toward the door as though seeking support. Her face softened, then hardened again. You don't understand what it means to lose a child, she whispered, her voice broken. And I will never forgive you if this happens again. Zhang Linghe lifted his head, tears glistening like shards of glass. Then I will never let it happen again. The unseen witness. What neither of them realized was that inside the hospital room, Bailu stirred. Her eyelashes fluttered, her lips parted, and though her voice was weak, a single word slipped into the world beyond the door. Linghe. The nurses closest to the door gasped and turned. The sound froze Bailu's mother in her place. Zhang Linghe's entire body jolted as if struck by lightning. She had spoken his name. Not mom. Not help. His name. And in that fragile whisper, the battle lines began to blur.